Welcome, everybody. This is Katie with Ria Health, and today I'm here with Ria Health member Rich. And Rich is with us today because he's going to tell his story of overcoming alcohol dependence through Ria Health's program. So I really just want to dive right in with you, Rich, and begin by asking you to tell us a little bit about your history with alcohol use and challenges with alcohol use disorder.
Yeah, definitely, Katie. Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me and giving me this platform to kind of tell my story. And, I've had a lot of success here at RIA. So just hopefully this can really touch someone who's listening out there and make a big difference for them. But yeah, getting into a little bit of my history with alcohol, kind of started as the normal guy in high school that drank very seldom, but started trying beer and liquor when I was about 16 years old, and then made it through high school and college with relatively very little issues with drinking or over drinking or making any mistakes. And it wasn't until I was about 22 or 23 that I really started seeing an issue with drinking. And I used to drink a lot, and would start blacking out and not remembering what was going on, what I had done the night before. Had to ask my friends, what did I say? Who did I offend? Who do I need to apologize to? Just really not good stuff. And, ended up throughout my 20s really struggling with this thing. And I didn't really want to call it alcoholism or alcohol use disorder. I didn't want to accept that I had an issue with it. I thought that I maybe just overindulged every once in a while. Um, but as I continued and the problems started piling up and issues, were exacerbated, um, fortunately, I, well, first of all, before finding Ria, I decided to go sober when I was about 29 years old. That was 2 years ago. Decided to go sober and had a really good time with going sober. I was able to take a lot of responsibility for my actions that I had built up, the problems that I had kind of put into my life, and was really able to change my life a lot for the better. So well, in fact, that I developed the confidence that, oh, I could probably moderate drinking. I'm sure some people can relate to that. So I ended up trying to moderate my drinking. And when you do that, you're kind of feeding the beast, or at least when I did that, I started kind of playing with the beast that, had always bit me and thinking that I was, had it figured out. Long story short, I did not have it figured out. Basically went from moderating for literally just a few days of moderating to relapsing, full relapse, and making those same mistakes or similar mistakes or even worse mistakes than I had made before. And yeah, really kind of got scared that I may have an issue. I'll say this before, when I went sober that first time, I did not accept that I had a problem. I just more decided to make a lifestyle change. That was kind of the way that I thought about it. And for the next few months of just not really addressing that issue, um, decided to continue drinking and really made some really big mistakes that I will say, I should have probably faced bigger consequences from them. But the biggest consequence was, with someone very close to me. And, that was enough to really shake my kind of worldview and my kind of view on myself to really accept that I had a problem. And I know that we have different labels for it now, but at the time I said, I'm an alcoholic. I really am, and I need to address this. Spent about 3 months in a, kind of a group setting that was really good, maintained sobriety throughout that period, but really kind of got depressed, and not clinically depressed, but just kind of down on myself about how it's like, well, sobriety's great, but man, there's a lot of pain associated with not being able to drink, when I want to. Just having a beer here and there, just having some champagne at a wedding, whatever it may be. Your mind can really go to a lot of places when you're really limiting yourself on something. And I like to think of myself as a person who has a lot of control. Obviously, not when I'm drinking. That's kind of why we're talking here. One of the reasons why we're talking. But yeah, I really wanted to be able to find control over that drinking. And like I mentioned, I tried moderating before, and knew that that didn't work, and ended up stumbling across a documentary called One Little Pill. And I'm sure if you're on here and you're familiar with Katie, you've probably become familiar with Claudia Christian and One Little Pill, and some of the advocates for the Sinclair Method and Naltrexone, and what the wonders of extinction therapy and what it can do for you, or what it's done for other people in the past. Um, and long story short, we're here now talking because I found success with it. And I know, Katie, you're probably going to ask me more questions about it, but yeah, that's kind of my history in alcohol before Ria.
Thank you so much, Rich. Yeah, thank you for painting that picture for everybody.
Sure.
So, I know you were saying you started drinking kind of early on. I think you said in high school.
Hmm.
How long was your drinking, do you feel really problematic and kind of out of your control for? And so how long was it out of control for? And then also, can you speak more a bit about kind of coming to terms with the fact that, okay, like this is a problem I need to deal with, and what that was like for you, just kind of going through that process and coming to that realization.
Of course, yeah. So, like I mentioned, drank a bit in high school, but and I hate to say, oh, everybody was doing it, to sound like I was, just having a group think. But I didn't see myself drinking much more than anyone else, and there's no blackouts, there's no real big issues. It's kind of just fun. And like I said, even through college, didn't have much of an issue with that. There was people drinking way more than I was. And it wasn't until about 22, 23 that that really kicked in. And I just noticed it by kind of waking up the next day or looking at the trash can with all the beer cans in it or whatever it may be, just going, wow, how did I drink that much? First of all, why did I drink that much? Little problems started stacking up. People noticed, parents noticed, friendships were put into question, you know. Um, and I dealt with that for about 6 or 7 years. I don't remember exactly if it kind of kicked in around 22 or 23, but it was, I remember the first time I went sober, it was literally on my 29th birthday. Um, so I can kind of tell you when that started, but I dealt with it for about 6 or 7 years. And trust me, you can really derail your life in that amount of time. And it, it was it was when I started to really affect the people closest to me. In this case, my girlfriend of nearly 6 years now. When fortunately, it wasn't a big problem. It was just that I didn't answer her phone call one night, and but that to her, it was every night I drank, I didn't answer her phone call. And that wasn't because I didn't like her or something. It was just that I was so distracted talking to people. I just love talking. If you can't tell that already, I love talking. And that gets a bit, polarized when I'm drinking. So I'll ignore her, not even ignore, just not notice that she called. And I remember the next morning, after my moderation period, or during my moderation period, she called and just said, I can't do this anymore. You really need to address this. And, it kind of sucks that a lot of us have to hurt other people in order for us to change. We can hurt ourselves over and over and over again. And maybe it speaks to our compassion for others or our empathy that, you know, it does finally cause us to change when we start dishing out pain to others, whether we meant to or not. But that was what it was. That was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak, that she said she was going to be done if I didn't address the problem. And I give her so much credit for sticking with me as long as she had, for giving me so much, you know, decision. She gave me enough decision making in my own life and still does, to where I don't feel trapped by her at all. But also, that was the point that she's like, hey, this is it hit her threshold of pain tolerance.
Hmm.
And like I said, fortunately, it wasn't like a big deal. It was just I didn't answer her phone call, but it had been enough. It had been enough. And that to me is something, that relationship, I do not want to give it up. Um, and that also just kind of proved the concept that, yeah, this is a real problem. It's not just a nuisance or a common mistake. It's a real problem. And like I said, that next morning at 8 a.m. in like a fog of being half drunk and hungover, I decided that I had a problem. I labeled myself as an alcoholic and decided to address it then and there.
Wow. Yeah, it's really fascinating to hear how everyone kind of has their own tipping point of when and what caused it. So thank you so much for speaking to that. And I want to ask, I know you discovered the One Little Pill documentary that Claudia Christian made about the extinction therapy and the Sinclair method. What was your first thought or reaction when you first learned about extinction therapy and that, abstinence wasn't the only option to addressing alcohol use disorder?
I said, no way that's true. There's no way that works. There's no way. There's no. And you know why I said that was because it isn't mainstream.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The medicine's been around since the mid '90s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember reading that, because after you watch that documentary, it's like, let me check in on this thing because that looks pretty great. And at first, I was skeptical, right? Which which is at one part a shame and one part understandable, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and I was very skeptical about it, and I said, "There's no way that works. There's just no way that a little pill that you take before drinking is gonna fix this problem that I have." And wow, 6, 7 years of that problem, there's a lot of memory there. Even though I
Yep.
blocked out a lot, there's a lot of memories left of the pain and anguish that goes along with that. And it's just like, there's no way. Um, but I must say, finding Embody Daily really helped a lot to reinforce the fact that it's not just one lady with her documentary that it's worked for. And I know there's a few people in that documentary that were a bit of case studies, but let me just give this to advice to people. If you don't trust something, look at it as many angles as you can. That's going to really help build a case for why you should do something and you shouldn't do something. Look at as many resources as you can, pieces of content, evidence, whatever it may be. For me, I found Claudia Christian, found the One Little Pill documentary, found the C3 Foundation website, then found our friend Katie here on her channel, Embody Daily, which you've done some amazing, amazing work on that, Katie. And honestly, that was my second step. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have continued with it. But found you and found all your interviews and all the work that you've put forward where you're doing your, just talking to the camera and kind of telling people what to expect with this method and how well it's worked for you. You have been just a total shining light in that regard. And then the third thing that I found, I ended up actually talking to a therapist during that period of the last period of sobriety when I was kind of mentioning how I was a little depressed or a little kind of just upset at the fact that I couldn't moderate. He had mentioned that extinction therapy had worked for some of his clients. And let me tell all your listeners this, I had to have him kind of dig this information out of a dusty corner to tell me about it. We had talked for nearly an hour about like sobriety and AA and SMART and all these different kind of more mainstream popular abstinence-based programs or recovery programs, which I think are all great. I love the fact that there's a lot of options. But it was like literally the last minute, like, oh, by the way, have you heard of this Naltrexone stuff? And he's like, oh, yeah, yeah, extinction therapy. I've actually had a few clients that's worked for. Well, that was it for me. That's all I needed. And, those three sources, Claudia, Katie, and then this therapist, I was just like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to give it a shot. Like, why not give it a shot? If there's one thing that your listeners can get from me today, it is, what do you have to lose trying this out? So, the last thing that I looked at, I did a quick Google search and found Ria Health. And what was really great about Ria Health is they literally basically do everything for you when it comes to getting the medicine, making sure you're a good candidate for it, um, setting you up with coaches, setting you up with a nurse for, your medical staff. They really walk you through every single process of the Sinclair method. So if there's any sort of disconcerting aspect of like, a pill to fix something, I don't really want to do a pill. A lot of people feel that way. And I was one of those included, that I want to be able to solve things naturally, right? And I will say this is something that I needed this medication for, and it has done wonders for me. So, that was kind of my journey into finding Ria, finding the Sinclair method, finding Naltrexone. Um, and it, like I said before, it led me to a lot of success.
So, can you tell us a little bit more about your experience in the RIA program and what it was like for you going this route for addressing your alcohol use disorder?
Yeah, so from day one, I realized that Ria was a very legit professional operation. They were very quick in getting back to me for my initial kind of inquiry about what it all was about. It's like we've said, this isn't very mainstream, so you kind of have to do some research on your own before, and then open up the door to Ria and see what they're offering. And the reason that I chose to go with Ria as opposed to just going to a family doctor locally and getting the prescription was that I wanted to do this the right way. In my mind, why not just do it the right way and have the best chance of success um, than trying it on my own. Now, if anyone's out there listening wants to do it on their own, go for it. I'd rather you try it on your own than not try it at all. But I would also suggest giving Ria a shot, because what they provide, like I said, from day one, is customer service. They provide a medical staff, and they provide coaching. And what's so great about, and also group workshops every single week, or group roundtable discussions. So if you have any issues with this, you literally have from a tap away to your coaching staff. They call it the care team. They have a coach, your personal coach, your personal nurse, and then you can always talk to the doctor as well. If you have any problems with get accepting the medication, getting the prescriptions done for you, having any questions. Trust me, I had a lot of questions for the nurse and the coach when I started, and they answered every single one of them for me. And I was able to really talk with them about how this is how I felt on the medicine. Is that normal? This is part of the progress I'm making. Is that normal? Am I going too fast? Am I going too slow? These are all things that, again, maybe you can do on your own, but I would highly suggest doing it in a professional environment. And then yet another aspect is the coaching, right? So weekly, you hop on a call with your coach. You talk about what your goals are for that week. You talk about any drinking days that you've had and how they went, how the medication's working. You can, I believe it's every few days. I know it's at least weekly that you can hop on a group call with others, similar to going to a support meeting, like a support group meeting. So if you're looking for accountability, you've definitely got it. And it's so great to have people in your corner that are there that want to see you succeed at your pace. That. What else could you ask for?
That's amazing. And so tell us, how long did it take for you once you joined Ria's program and started on the naltrexone treatment? How long to see a difference in your drinking, and what were some of the first things you noticed and started to see, oh yeah, this is going to work for me?
Well, luckily, I did a lot of preparation for this question, Katie. I knew this was coming 6 months ago. No, but I decided a couple days before I started with the medication that I was gonna have a little last hurrah, so to speak. And I bought myself a 12 pack of light beer. Not gonna give the brand a recognition here, but some light beer, and ended up drinking all those beers, all 12 of them that night. Um, trust me, I can finish a light beer very quickly, and that was like nothing. So I was like talking through it with my girlfriend because she had known that I was, doing this. I was going to be embarking on this Ria journey, and I was just telling her that night I had this thing inside of me that I'm like, I need to go get more now. I need to walk down the block and get more beer now. I told her I was going to no matter what.
After 12 light beers. After 12.
After 12 beers,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I need more. I'm going to go get more. No matter what you say to me, I'm going to go get more. Like it was like someone else was talking through me. And because we were doing a bit of an experiment, we were kind of assessing, what my mindset was after 12 beers. We never really thought about it before. Anyway, and that being said, I was not in control and needed to go get more. So that leads me to my first session with naltrexone. Was that decided, I'm going to go buy the same exact thing, bit of a controlled variable in that experiment was the same exact type of booze and same exact amount. And one of the great things about Ria and the coaches and nurses there is they say, don't try to do something different necessarily, just do what you feel is natural. Meaning, don't try to only drink one beer. See what you naturally are going to do on this medicine. And I have to say, first night, I actually took a half dose the first night because they want you to, kind of ease into it. With the half dose, no lie, I drank 2.5 beers that night and quit. Like it was nothing. I didn't even want to drink anymore after that. And this is the point where people are going to go, what? No way. Like, come on. Seriously, that's what happened. Try it yourself. See what happens. My girlfriend could not believe it. I couldn't believe it. And one of the funny side effects to that was that, I had some ice cream that night and didn't think it tasted very good, but it actually was. So, it kind of, felt a little weird to take the medicine the first time, but like seriously, the weirdest feeling was that I didn't feel the pull of drinking more. And I think that, that night I kind of developed the name, the pull, for this feeling that I had when I had maybe two or more drinks was that I needed to drink more. Like I had to. It was almost like my blood hurt if I wasn't drinking more. That's how bad my AUD was, or my alcohol use disorder, alcoholism was, is that it literally hurt me to not continue drinking once I had started. And one of the side effects of this medicine is that wasn't there anymore. The pull was not there anymore and the pain was not there anymore. And it just made me feel like the first time I'm like, wow, is this what normal people feel like? Kate, I don't know if you've ever seen any of those YouTube videos where they'll give like a colorblind person like glasses for the first time that helps them see in color, or they'll give
Yes.
a hearing impaired person like a hearing aid that helps them hear for the first time. That's how I felt. It wasn't like immediate, but it was kind of over a couple hours. But my goodness, that's what it felt like. I felt like a different person. And that being said, I know you asked about the first session, but I had, continued trying throughout that first week, like 3 or 4 times. None of those times I drank more than 3 drinks.
Wow.
And I could not believe it. And I still can't believe it. But hey, here we are.
So did you have any setbacks? I mean, I know, some people respond really quickly like you did, and others, it takes a little longer. So I'm curious, did you have any setbacks along the way, or was there anything that was challenging for you about this extinction therapy?
No, I'm trying to rack my brain. I've literally not had one single blackout since starting. And I know that sounds a little crazy, like nice bar to set, dude. But seriously, that was, nearly every time I drank, I ended up blacking out somehow. And it wasn't so much that I like drank a ton. It was just that the older I got, the quicker I could black out. And by quicker, I mean like the lower the BAC. I was nearing blackout at like the legal limit of like 0.08. It's really weird. And that was yet another kind of, sorry to kind of back up here, Katie, but like that was a bit of another aspect of knowing that I needed to change, was that it's like nothing's getting better here. It's only getting worse when it came to the amount of drinks, the blacking out, the quickness of blacking out, just kind of the severity of those issues just got more and more exacerbated as I got older. But I have to say, I had zero issues with the medication. I mean, the only thing that I noticed, like I said, was that ice cream tasting a little funny the first night. And then, I had watched a movie with my girlfriend that I didn't really like and ended up being a good movie after watching it the next day. Very weird, but so minimal, like so minimal. Didn't feel sick, didn't feel anything other than that first night feeling a little different. Um, but yeah, really followed the advice of Ria, and that was, drink when you want. Don't don't try to force a change. If you feel like it's naturally a change, go ahead and do that. And that's one of the things I loved about the Ria program, is that support that you get. Um, and like I said, was given free reign to just kind of do what I wanted. And I've had days where I've drank for 10 hours, and I'm not trying to sound like it was a lot. It wasn't. I maintained, I breathalyzed the whole day, measured my blood alcohol, and it never got above 0.04, but was able to drink for 10 hours at a river summer trip that I love going on. So like I wasn't able to give that, I didn't have to give that up, but I was able to actually maintain my consciousness. I was able to maintain my personality that I like, that other people like, and that they don't like when I get too drunk or got too drunk. Um, so, yeah, to answer your question, I had zero complications with it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I know that's the case for a lot of people, but I know, for some people it's not always the case. So I think it's really inspiring just to hear your just textbook success on this method, and that's amazing to hear. So,
Ye-
oh,
Well,
go.
well, and one thing, yeah, and one thing I could add is, I'd like to think that I'm pretty fortunate that I didn't have any issues with it, but I would also really recommend people that you have a very positive and open mindset when you try this stuff. It's not all physical. A lot of it is mental. And by going into it, thinking and believing, having faith in myself that I could conquer this crazy, crazy problem. Um, and again, having support, but really, you're always the person that has to choose. I'm going to take the pill before I drink, the hour before you drink. That's literally the only rule there is. The only compliancy issue is take that pill an hour before you drink and then drink on it. That's the only thing you've really got to, be clear with yourself on. Like, do you want to make this work, or do you want to let this thing continue controlling you? What's the alternative here? You've proven to yourself, you've proven to yourself what the alternative's been. I've proven to myself what that alternative would be. And now this medication has given me just a new window, a paradigm shift of looking at what I can actually do now with my life. And going into it with a positive mindset, I think really helped. I can't tell you what it would be like without doing that because I didn't, but I can definitely say that that helped a ton.
And I totally agree. And can you speak more about your positive mindset and kind of what that looked like for you when you were going into it, and perhaps how Ria's program maybe helped facilitate that or keep you on track with that kind of positive mindset?
Yeah, for sure. So I spoke a little earlier about, this whole change kind of was caused by necessity, you know, and I could argue that I chose to accept that necessity with the girlfriend saying she had had enough and I needed to change. Um, that was a little bit of like, okay, that's an outside external factor affecting what I'm doing now. But once I chose to go the RIA route, follow the RIA program, that's when it became internal. And that's when things started shifting to, okay, I need to take responsibility for this now. And I need to address this issue. And again, what makes it so easy is that you know what the alternative is already, right? You
Yeah.
know that if you continue drinking the way that you're going to, something bad's going to happen and you don't know what it is. I continually impressed myself with how much worse I could make my life, before. And I didn't want to keep doing that. And having a positive mindset is so difficult to achieve because I can sit here and talk to you, or Katie can sit here and talk to you, but it's only up to you to actually make that change happen. Um, and I'm a firm believer in that if your mindset isn't right, it does not matter what else you're going to do. Willpower only lasts so long. White knuckling, it only lasts so long. Um, you have to believe in yourself that you can do it. That's really what it comes down to, is belief and faith. In my opinion, that's why, a bunch of world religions, a bunch of TV shows and movies and stories are based around, science versus faith. And just the theme of faith and belief is that, if you do not believe in yourself, you will not achieve what you need to do, or what it is that you think you can do. You have to believe it. And I could go on and on about mindset, but to keep it, somewhat short, once I started believing that I could do it, the medicine then kicks in and proves that you can continue doing it. But in order to make it work in the long run, you've got to actually choose that that's the type of lifestyle that you want, rather than the one that you had before.
That's so well said. And I want to ask you about habits because obviously, if you're drinking as frequent as you were, yes, there was a biological dependence, but also, the kind of habit of what you do on a regular basis. So, can you speak more about that? Like, did you have to consciously change these habits? Did you have things to do with your time? Like, how did that change for you as you kind of broke this habit of drinking so regularly and, going into this new version of yourself and this new life?
Sure. So there's a couple aspects there, of habits, right? So when you are a heavy drinker, you develop heavy drinking habits. What those look like for you personally, I'm not sure. But for me, it was trying to plan ahead for problems, and issues, and trying to safeguard myself against myself for my behavior, which I know sounds a little sounds a little weird, but I think some people can relate to that.
Absolutely.
But what was crazy, I think the biggest habit shift was actually going sober before Ria. And I say this in the sense of like, that was when I had to go, I cannot go to a bar anymore. I cannot go to a wedding and feel out of place. I cannot go to happy hour with coworkers. Um, you name all that normal stuff. That's when the big habit change happened. And it was almost a force that I had to be like, oh God, I got to avoid this. Like, I have to avoid billboards that say, drink beer, it'll make you happy. And all these things that was the biggest habit switch for me. And what's great about Ria and Naltrexone, especially the Sinclair Method, is that you can actually kind of continue with your normal habits. Now, I don't necessarily mean the habit of over drinking or drinking too much. But you can continue going to the bar. You can continue going to the weddings. You can drive through your city with the billboards and not feel bad about it. So I know that wasn't necessarily kind of the initial thought that I had going into it. Big habit changes when I went sober the first time and had to deal with that. And that was a little too much for me. When I joined Ria, did the Sinclair Method, that's when I almost felt like a new person, right? Because I actually was doing old stuff, but in a new way. And that really brought in just a clarity, a freedom. Just think of all the good things, that you can be doing. I mean, I could not imagine having a drink, say at 5 p.m. and going and doing a workout later that night, or doing some school, doing some work that night, or something that required some attention. Now I can actually do that. So in a way, that's now a new habit. It's like, oh, this is what normal people do. Or maybe people that are not affected by this condition, that's what they can do. You can go to the bar for happy hour with your coworkers and have a couple drinks, come back home and do what you need to do. So, I know that, I don't know if that answered your question, Katie, but it is something that the stark change in habits was when I tried to go sober and it was too much for me. With the Sinclair Method, that's when I just kind of developed augmented habits with what I had naturally been inclined to do, which is like, hey, every once in a while, go have a drink. Now it's like a new version of that, which is just beautiful. So much better.
So
Yeah,
empowering and life changing.
it's
So
crazy.
I know, you know, I can relate.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, you and me both.
So tell me, Rich, what was the biggest change you've seen in yourself, or the couple of biggest, since you started Ria's program and the medication treatment? Is there something you can speak to there?
Yeah, this is huge. And I'll try to be brief with it, but I don't want to sound like I'm advertising the the program because I know it may be a little different for everyone, but it has literally solved a problem for me that I did not think was actually a problem to be solved ever. I thought that I'd either have to be going through painful, awful uncertainty with continuing drinking or a very, very painful certainty of being sober all the time. And again, it's different for everybody. If you want to be sober, awesome. If you want to moderate, great. Um, and I just did not realize, kind of going back to that same thought everyone has when they discover this stuff. I did not realize there was a third option. It's been so ingrained in our society that there's either, it's very black and white, it's very binary. It's either, if you have a problem, it's either you maintain sobriety and you're looked at like, oh wow, you're amazing for being sober for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, or you've really got a problem. You should probably address that, and you slowly chip away at the quality of life that you have. And the biggest change that has occurred for me has been, wow, I can actually have my cake and eat it too. Meaning, yeah, I need to exercise responsibility, and I can't just go be an idiot and you know um, binge drink at a bar and drive home or something. That's that's not something I want to go do. But with the naltrexone, you don't ever enter into that other side of yourself when the person you become, that beast that you let out when you drink too much, that is going to make those bad decisions. Naltrexone basically safeguards you from doing that. Now, again, I'm not saying that's going to work for everyone the exact same way, but that's what my story is. That's my truth of the matter is that I can now have that and continue leveling up in my life now. I have no excuse to go, oh man, I could have success if I wasn't an alcoholic or didn't have a alcoholism or alcohol use disorder. Well, this has actually fixed that. It's literally eliminated that problem. So now I take the responsibility of like, okay, cool. Now you have that free reign to go do that. So I've actually had to challenge myself, to really improve and fix all those, oh man, all those issues that I had built up for myself through my 20s. And it's been a process. And I'm not done. I'm never going to be done with it. And I'm not saying that I've built up problems that are never done. It's more of once those problems are fixed, well, now you need to go live your life to the fullest. Go do your thing. Go find out what your why is. Why are you here? Why have you fixed this problem now? You're here because you wanted to do better with your life. Maybe you wanted to stop hurting people. Maybe you wanted to be empowered. Okay, great. Now, why is that? Start focusing on your big why. What are you here to change? What are you here to affect? Why are you here? And I've been reflecting on that a lot, and still working on it. It's not something you just figure out. Maybe it is. That's also subjective. You may already know what your why is, but once you have that kind of nailed down, or at least a nice bar set on what that is, you can really just dig in and just kill it at life. Like, just get your goals together, start chipping away at them in a disciplined manner. Have some drinks here and there, go for it. That's what's so cool about it. Like, and another aspect of the extinction therapy is that I've now even developed, I guess you could call it a skill, or maybe just a trait of, the thought will cross my mind of wanting to drink, and then I'll just go, it's not really worth it. I'll be a little slower tomorrow morning, or I'll be a little more loose with my speech tonight. And hey, there's a time and a place for that. but it's very fewer. It's much more few and far between for me now. Also,
So you have that space now where the thought will cross your mind, oh, I could drink, but it's not like a gotta have kind of thing. You can think about it and decide, okay, I will, or okay, I won't. And it's without that white knuckled kind of willpower experience.
yeah, I'm sure a professional could probably explain this a little better than I could, like a a psychiatrist or somebody that's a little more versed in kind of why we think the way we think, why we behave the way we behave. But I've the most pain I felt when I was sober was was FOMO. You know what FOMO is, right, Katie? The
Yes.
fear of missing out, right? And I think it's been proven that FOMO is a made up thing. It's literally something we make up in our minds to, um, I guess it makes us feel worse. I don't know really. Again, I'm not a professional. I don't know why. But either way, I felt FOMO when I was sober so bad. And it got me to where it's like I didn't have a problem not drinking, say, that day. I had a problem looking long term and going, I'll never be able to have another drink again. That's what really weighed on me, like a freaking, just a massive weight on my shoulders. It's like, never again. Not just not this afternoon or tonight, never again.
Mm.
And again, it was a thing I made up in my head. I didn't feel that pain. It wasn't pain, but it felt like it. You know what I mean? It wasn't a real thing that was causing me the issue, but it felt that way. Um, it's kind of like when someone gets injured or maimed in a really bad way. It's the pain of that injury hurts, but the mental pain of thinking about living life that way, that's similar to what I felt. And that's what this naltrexone has freed up for me, is that, yeah, to answer your question, yes, I think of drinking, but it's more of like, you know what, there's a time and like I said, there's a time and a place for that. I don't need to do that tonight. I can do it this weekend, or I'll do it next month. Or what I've actually done personally is I kind of plan my drinking days out. That sounds a little over analytical, but it actually works pretty well, because it's like, I can tell you, we are recording on the week of Thanksgiving. I'll tell you, I'll drink on Thanksgiving, this week, but I probably will not drink the day before, probably will not drink the day after, nor probably not till Christmas after that. And that's kind of how I'm personally, for me, this is how I've designed it, that's how I'm doing it. Um, and how nice is that to be able to sit here and go, oh, I don't need to drink today. I don't need to drink tomorrow. I'll drink on Thursday. I'll drink on Thanksgiving. It'll be nice. And I'm not going to drink a ton either. Like, that's another thing, Katie, that I think you can relate to is, like, you build up in your mind how awesome and great alcohol can be and how great that feeling can be. And on the naltrexone, it's just been perfectly like made, formulated to where you still feel a little tipsy or drunk, but like you don't get that sort of like, oh, this feels so good, like I need more of this. You just don't have that feeling. So through doing this for 6 months, now I'm like, I'm just making up how like sexy and great it would feel to drink. It's really not that great, you know, but yeah, that's just a way that I've kind of been designing it for myself, that it's very moderate. It's very, very moderate. I allow myself to do it when I feel like it. I took Claudia's advice. I've got my little key fob here with 2 pills in it, just in case. I'm out and about and it's the right time. I've exercised that 2 or 3 times, and it's amazing. I sound like a broken record, but it is.
No, you're painting the picture really well for everybody. And I want to kind of ask you, because you're talking about, all the changes with the naltrexone in your drinking. So can you paint a picture for us, what your life was like a day in the life before naltrexone, and what it's like now that you've seen this great success and change in your drinking?
Yeah, so it's hard to give you what an average day would look like, but I can kind of give you just a general overview of, I was either in a couple modes: pre naltrexone, pre Sinclair Method. Like I said, I went sober for a little while. That was when I was before Rio, that's when I was kind of performing at my best, but there was always that painful FOMO feeling. Um, that was one mode. Another mode was while I was drinking, was just overdoing it a lot, way overdoing it. Just basically not remembering what I was doing, you know. Um, and yeah, we all know what that's like. And then the third mode was kind of the time between drinking too much, which was shame, pain, um, just not feeling good. You know, they call alcohol a depressant, and I'm sure it is, but you know, it doesn't feel like it at the time. But when, you know, the next day or the next few days after drinking way too much, trust me, felt that depressant aspect of that alcohol really, really in depth. So I would kind of go in between each of those modes, mainly the second and third, which is like drinking too much and then feeling the effects of drinking too much and dealing with that. And you know, I'll paint a bigger picture for you of what that kind of led to is that I did not level myself up in life. I didn't want to do more than the bare minimum. I was upset at myself for any of the problems that I'd caused in my life, even good problems. Um, like extra responsibility. I'd be like, oh, why did I do that? Why did I take that extra responsibility on? Really focused on the negativity. I was bringing problems rather than solutions. I'll put it, that's the simplest way I can put it. That was kind of what my mindset was. There's kind of two types of people in this world. You either bring solutions or you bring problems. And I was a problem bringer, let me tell you. Um, and yeah, not to sound so, you know, polarized. I'm like, oh, my life was just terrible before. I mean, yeah, it was, could have been a lot better. I'll just put it that way, you know. And I was really like um, having spikes on my, you know, radar of like, yo, that was a big thing you just did there. That was really stupid and really dumb. Okay, now back to kind of being slightly upset at my life. Now another problem because I drank too much. Then some just kind of good stuff would happen, and then it'd kind of repeat. So all in all, pretty negative existence, you know. And with this kind of mindset shift, this freedom that I referenced earlier, having that I didn't think was even possible, it has given me such, it has empowered me so much to kind of become the person that I think was meant to be. And I'd like to think I'm somewhat naturally talented and somewhat of a hard worker. And, you know, they say luck is the meeting of preparation and opportunity. And I wasn't giving myself a lot of opportunity before, wasn't doing a lot of preparation or hard work before. Now that I've been doing that, just in these last 6 months, it is amazing what I've been able to accomplish. I mean, stuff that I didn't think was possible. On top of the whole solving the alcohol problem. I mean, it's very interesting what you can do when you really take, you know, responsibility and feel empowered that you can actually, you can do anything you want. You're literally the only person in your way. You are the only person stopping you from doing anything. So if you can't tell, my mindset's a little better now.
Yes, I'm just nodding my head. I relate so much.
Nice. Yeah.
It's, yeah, getting that out of the way. It just, yeah, anything is possible. And life is fun again, like joyfully fun. It's amazing. So I suppose just to kind of wrap up here, what might you tell someone who is considering this type of treatment for themselves or for a loved one, or might be on the fence or not sure? What would your message be?
Yeah. So if you or a loved one that you know has an inkling, shadow of a doubt that you may have a problem with alcohol, I know it's a hard thing to accept. If I haven't made that clear already, it took me years to accept that I had a problem. Hopefully, if you're listening to this, you were just like me about 6.5 months ago, where I was pretty close to deciding to do it, but I needed to hear some people's stories and to hear people talk about it. And if you're listening and you made it this far in this talk, hopefully you're feeling a little more inspired to give it a shot. But if you're still on the fence, I just have to ask you, what do you have to lose? What is it about your previous lifestyle that you want to keep going, that you wouldn't want to try this to change it? And what's so great about Ria and people like Katie and Claudia and all of those people that sing the praises of this medicine, this method, this organization, you have got nothing to lose. You've got people in your corner, whether you already knew it or not. With Ria, you've got a bunch of people out there that will then actually look to you once you try this out and have some success with it, to help them out. Think of the change that you could put into other people's lives by being an inspiration and an example to them. And I'm pretty sure, Katie, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think you can do a consultation for free. Is that correct with Ria?
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah. So what do you have to lose? Just do a consultation with Ria. Talk with them. They are such friendly people. I mean, it's such a warm, inviting environment. Not going to name any other organizations that may be a little more hard nosed about different treatment methods, but they are very warm and welcoming and will meet you where you're at. If you're in a very bad place, they're happy to keep you, or happy to take you in. If you're in a pretty good place, but could maybe address this problem a little bit more, they'll still take you. They'll still talk to you. They'll still accept you. And even if you don't think that you have a huge problem with this, why not give it a shot? So, like I said, if you are in any way, shape, or form have an idea that you may have a problem with this, or that you know someone that may have a problem with this is the new game in town. And I know it's been around for 20 years or so, the medicine, but Katie has been doing such a great job. Ria has been doing such a great job with actually bringing this into the fold, the mainstream fold. If it wasn't for Ria, I don't know how my journey would have gone with this method. But I can tell you all, from their coaching to their medical staff to Katie here, being kind of the face of kind of the intricacies of the method. I mean, it's all out there. So if you're hesitant to reach out to Ria directly, check out Embody Daily. Check out the C3 Foundation. Get on Facebook, check out the Sinclair Method Warriors. Is that the name, Katie?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Check out as much content as you can. Do your due diligence. Get in there and check out what's going on. But do not be afraid of the change and the responsibility that you can actually find with solving your problem.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Rich.
Of course, it is. Thank you. And Katie, like I said, you are one of the shining bright lights of this whole movement of the Sinclair Method, bringing it mainstream. And we just need more people like you out there that advocate for this, because I am just yet another example of someone that this has worked for so well. It has literally changed my life for the better and has given me a new lease on life, really. I mean, talk about FOMO earlier. I was thinking, what, 70 more years of this crap that I have to deal with? Not anymore. I'm done. I literally don't have to deal with it anymore. You think popping a pill before drinking is dealing with it? That's easy. That's not a problem at all. And I am so happy. I'm going to be advocating to everyone that I talk with that has an inkling of a problem with this, that they need to give this a shot. And again, I would not have made it to this point if it wasn't for you, for Claudia, for the team at Ria. You all have just changed my life so much for the better, and I cannot thank you enough. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, it's been amazing to chat with you, and you're so articulate with your experience, and you communicate things so clearly and in a way that's easy to digest and understand and relate to. And so I thank you for coming on to share your story. Obviously you don't have to do this, and it's very kind of you to kind of donate your time and share your whole experience, because it's going to reach people for years to come. So thanks. Yeah, we'll keep throwing the thanks back and forth.
Oh, of course. Well, I hope that anyone that's listening to this, like I said before, if you're on the fence, use me as just yet another story of success, that this has worked for another person. And what do you have to lose by trying this out?
Mm.
So go give it a shot.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you.
Bye.